Welcome to another episode of The Unseen Paranormal, where some of the scariest things are unseen. I'm your host, Eric Freeman. Hey everybody, on today's bonus episode for Halloween, we have actor, singer, performer, photographer, Suze Lanier Bramlett. You might know her from the 1977 Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. She played one of the main characters, Brenda Carter. She's also known as one of the original Scream Queens. How you doing today, Suze?
I'm just great. Thanks, Eric. I mean, as great as one could be during a pandemic, you know.
Right. What got you interested in playing in a horror movie? Because before that, you were kind of known for doing sitcom comedies. And what got you interested in playing? In television, yeah.
Television and theater, yes. I'd done a lot of television and theater, but I started doing theater when I was quite young, like 13 in Dallas, and then moved to New York and did some theater and training at HB Studio. And then I moved back to Dallas for a couple of years and produced for WNET or KERA in Dallas. Luke and Owen Wilson's father was my boss. And so I did a little producing and then did a film and another national theater tour and got discovered by ICM, which was a big agency here in Los Angeles. They asked me to move to LA, and I started doing a lot of, sitcom and episodic and movies of the week. Back then, they were called movies of the week, and worked with all kinds of fabulous people.
So how did you get the role in The Hills Have Eyes?
The casting director, Gus Shermer, was working with another very important casting person in Los Angeles, and she still is, named Carol Propp. And they had seen me in Welcome Back, Kotter and some of the other sitcoms. And when they read the script was originally called Blood Relations. And when they read the script and saw the role of Brenda, they thought of me. I had met Carol and knew Carol personally. And I was suggested, and I met and had a meeting with Wes Craven and Peter Locke, the producer, and we did a little improv, Wes and I, and pretty much landed the role that same day. They offered me the starring role in The Hills Have Eyes.
And what was it like to work with Wes Craven? I know you kind of knew him. He only had one film before The Hills Have Eyes, so you kind of knew him before he was Wes Craven, the Wes Craven.
Yeah, I mean, I never noticed any difference in Wes's behavior from the first day I met him when he had one film under his belt, because I had, I usually go through life respecting people who are artists one way or the other, no matter what level of success they've achieved. But he certainly had one horror film under his belt. And throughout the years, and I saw Wes shortly before he passed away, he never seemed to change. He was a very humble, intelligent, and fun, shy man, always charming. And so he was just really an upright human being.
Yeah, and he's made some iconic movies. Like The Hills Have Eyes is such a cult classic now. And like I said, you're one of the original Scream Queens. You kind of corner that genre with being the first. A lot of people want to say Jamie Lee Curtis, but she came a year after you in the movie Halloween.
Right. Yes. And actually, I've received a couple of awards along the way. I have read it online. I haven't actually participated in any competition, but I have been called one of the top 10 screamers. So, I screamed quite a bit in The Hills Have Eyes. So a funny story is a friend I went to high school with had moved to New York City, and she's in the fashion, still is in the fashion industry, and she was walking down 42nd Street. So she's going to the store or something, and on 42nd Street she hears this blood curdling scream, and she stops and she goes, "Oh my God, is that Susie?" And she walks back, and there I am on The Hills Have Eyes, on the big poster on The Hills Have Eyes. And she goes, the scream was recognizable, and it was that loud. So
yeah, that's awesome. What was some of your favorite moments on the set of The Hills Have Eyes? Y'all filmed it out in the desert. So it's probably a little bit miserable, I'm sure. But what were some of your favorite moments?
Well, prior to doing that movie, and even the first low-budget movie that I ever did in Dallas, I guess, was the first theatrical release movie I did, called The Pickle Goes in the Middle, which was really bad, but it was a comedy. I had been used to having my own dressing room and not my own makeup artist always, but at the studios, you've got professional makeup artists and hair people and wardrobe people and all that kind of thing. And it was an adjustment to be crammed in a trailer with every single actor that was in it. We had one trailer for getting dressed and putting on makeup, and, it was a very, very skimpy budget. And so we definitely toughened out to do that shoot. But it was fun. It actually, brought us together almost like a family. Michael Behrman called me 2 days ago, and I texted him that I was in the middle of a Zoom and would have to call him back, and I haven't. So I'll call him after we hang up. But yeah, we all became pretty tight, and I'm still tight with all of them that are still around. I talked to Michael Behrman. My friendship with him is particularly close. He's kind of like a brother, and so we've spent a lot of Christmases and Thanksgivings together. When I don't return the call, it's kind of like if I don't return the call to my brother, well,
right.
Thanks, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very casual and wonderful, warm friendship that we will always have. So that was life-changing in that way, that even though it was tough, it really united certainly a large group of us that, remained friends.
Yeah, and a lot of y'all have gone on to have great careers. Michael Berryman has been in lots of movies. He's a great actor. You're a great actress. I've seen some other stuff that you've been in, and it's awesome that y'all came together and y'all are still friends after that many years.
Yeah, it doesn't happen on all the sets. I must say, when I played Travolta's girlfriend on Welcome Back, Kotter, I maintained a friendship with Ron Palillo and Bobby Hedges until they passed, and I'm still casual friends with Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. We end up on some of the same red carpets, and it's always great to see him. I spent 4th of July with him not too long ago, and so that was a nice set to be on. But then you can work on certain sets, and that's it. You don't see the people ever again, even though you wish them well. I mean, it just depends on the circumstance and the project. But The Hills Have Eyes was definitely, I think, the most profound one I worked on for in creating lasting friendships. I'm still very good friends with Dee Wallace as well. And I just did a movie with her bio daughter, Gabrielle Stone. And Gabrielle is a wonderful actress. And we did a movie a couple of years ago called Cut, and I play a horror film director, and she's my ingenue. I also have some music because I'm also a songwriter and a singer, and I have a band. I did have a band before COVID, so I also have some music in that, and I'm on stage singing too. So that was really a really fun project. But to have been friends with her mother before she was even conceived, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and on set, there's an iconic scene. I'm sure you get asked about this probably all the time in interviews, but the infamous rape scene is kind of one of the iconic scenes from that movie. What was it like to film that scene, and with especially something as intimate as that with people you didn't really know that well at the time?
Well, I'm raped by both Jupiter and Pluto. So the rape scene was actually the first scene that Wes Craven decided to shoot. That was, I think, maybe the very first scene of the entire movie that was shot. They had to do all the interiors inside the trailer because, of course, the trailer gets blown up, and they actually did blow up a trailer in the middle of the desert. So all the interiors had to be done, of course, first. And so the rape scene he chose to do first. I don't know why. Maybe he wanted to get it out of the way. So Michael Behrman was pretty shy about it. So that was the first day on the set that we had met. And that makes it even maybe Wes's plan was, if they're really strangers, which at that time we were, it will be more realistic, which is not a bad idea, frankly. So anyway, Michael was really nervous about it. And Wes had called me to the side and told me that Michael was really nervous about it. And so I wanted to put him at ease. So I said, Michael, when Wes calls action, let's be making out, passionately making out, like it's not a rape, just to break the ice. Come on, let's do that. So he went along with it. And so when the curtain is pulled back and Wes calls out action, Michael and I were, in a love scene rather than a rape scene. And everybody just cracked up, including Wes. And yes, it was a waste of a little bit of footage, but it broke the ice for the entire rest of the shoot. And Wes was so grateful for me doing that. Even though Michael had done Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he really had no words in that movie. He was wonderful in it and certainly was a standout in the movie. But he didn't have a lot of credits when we did The Hills Have Eyes. And I did. I'd done a lot of theater and a lot of New York theater and TV shows. So I had a little more confidence, I think, than the others did.
And you said that you're also a musician, been a musician for many years. And I've heard you in other interviews talk about the journey that the movie kind of put you on to where you met your late husband. And he kind of got you more into music and that type of stuff. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I was enjoying the acting career, but I wasn't by that time. And I had joined the union when I was approximately 17. So by 1977, after the movie came out, my late husband had gone to the drive-in to see The Hills Have Eyes. And he had a girlfriend. I didn't know him, of course. And he said, I'm going to marry that girl. And she said, oh, yeah, right. Well, the very next night, my friend from college, her husband was playing in Delaney Bramlett's band. And so she said, let's go to the Starwood and hear Delaney. He says it was the whiskey. I say it was the Starwood. So, I'm pretty sure I'm right. But at any rate, it was one of the big clubs, big clubs in Los Angeles, which was a huge scene at the time. And so she said, let's go hear Delaney. And I said, no, I've got a job tomorrow. I'd rather not. And so we go to the club. She talks me into it. We go to the club and he sees me. He takes his guitar off. He comes down off the stage and he said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, I have a boyfriend. And he said, I don't care. Give me your phone number. And he had just seen me in The Hills Have Eyes, and I could not resist because he was just so hot and so cute and so talented and so funny and Southern. And I like Southern men. And so I gave him my number, and the rest was history. So I think if I hadn't done The Hills Have Eyes, I wouldn't have ever even met my husband. He had written and he had produced Eric Clapton's first album, and he had the famous rock group Delaney and Bonnie, and they had broken up in 1971, way before I met him. But he was still very, very busy in the music business, writing songs and other people cutting them, and got me into songwriting. I had a big audition for Brian De Palma for a movie where I had to be the lead of a girl band, and he put together for me some of the most famous musicians in the world to be my backup band. So I sounded great singing Sitting Here in Limbo. And that was at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And it was so weird. Something snapped. There was Brian De Palma in the audience, and something snapped in me. And I went, man, I could dig doing this. I could really, this is much more fun than acting. Being on stage and doing music, there's not anything quite like it. And so it gave me the bug, and I started writing music a lot and writing my own songs, as well as collaborating with Delaney and Phil Everly and really great songwriters. And I was already in that social circle because of Delaney. So it just kind of all fell into place. And when I'm not on a set acting, the music is just still so rewarding to me. And since most of the sets are shut down right now, I've been doing more music than I have even. I don't even miss the acting because I don't really crave being on a set worried about catching COVID. You know, a lot of the sets, people are testing positive after going to work for a couple of days. And I get my creative outlet by just going to the piano and writing a song, you know.
Yeah, and I can see
and making music videos. Music video, I hope everybody will look up on my YouTube channel, Suze Lanier Bramlett on YouTube, which stars Michael Berryman and Brooke Lewis. But Michael Berryman, it's called Watch What You Ask For, in parentheses, you just might get it. And it's a horror, funky song that I wrote about internet dating. So, and it's a satire, of course, on internet dating, and Michael Berryman is the villain, and I become the victim. So it's really a fun little video. And I directed that, produced it and directed it, and got it shot in a couple of days and edited and on to YouTube in like 2 days.
Yeah, I've seen that video. It's awesome. With him, he's kind of catfishing you on the whole dating thing, and there's kind of a twist at the end of the video. The song is great too, but the video is the combination of the two is wonderful.
I mean, I wrote that before I knew what catfishing was. You know, that film together before I even knew what that was. So that was fun. We love to work together. We do the conventions together as well. Sometimes he's very popular at the conventions, much more popular than I am. And so sometimes he will, ask if I can share the table with him or be at his table or our tables can be near each other. And so then we can, are you hungry? I'll go get you a sandwich, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You need anything to drink? Let me go get it. And so now he lives in Florida. He was living near me in LA, and he's moved to Florida, which is heartbreaking because we can't share the holidays together. I'm wild about his wife, Patty, and I don't see him as much, but we talk as frequently, just about. He was at every gig I ever did.
Wow, it just seems like an awesome guy and a great actor.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I miss him a lot. Florida's kind of far away and nobody's really traveling. And I think he's as bummed as everybody he really did go to a convention almost every weekend. I never enjoyed him as much as he did because it's a lot of work sitting there all day meeting strangers. It looks fun, looks real famous and stuff and glamorous, but it's really hard work.
And in the future, what would you want to do that you haven't done yet in your career?
Well, every single day I write on a book. It's based on 6 months. It's a memoir, but not entirely a memoir, based on 6 months of my life living in New York City when I was a runaway. It wasn't actually a runaway, but I turned 18 in New York. And so, but I'm writing about 6 months of my life in New York City in 1967. And it's about a murder, and that takes place down on the Lower East Side. And it's very dark. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. I make sure that I write a page every single day, minimally. I figured if I write a page a day in 365 days, I'll have a book. So I try to discipline myself every single day to write at least one page before I start my day.
That sounds like it'd be a great read.
Yeah, it has a lot of true facts about what was going on then that people that are really young would have no reference to. However, I would say that there's the political turmoil in the country at the time very much resembles what's going on right now. And there are a lot of lessons to be learned in the book and a lot of history that I'm writing about in the book because I was there. And, I have been blessed to still be here to be able to tell those tales.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're kind of a Renaissance woman. You're also a very well-known photographer out in Hollywood, and even you have a connection. I live outside of Nashville, and you've even come to Nashville and did some album covers and that type of stuff.
Yeah. I have photographed Willie Nelson. I have photographed, oh my God, I can't even think right now, but I've done a lot of album covers for local LA bands and musicians, as well as Lane Brody and Eddie Bayers in in Nashville. Yeah, I don't do as much of that anymore. I think that a lot of people are using their iPhones for photographs. I find a huge difference in using a professional camera versus an iPhone, but a lot of people don't have the budget that they used to. Record labels aren't spending the money that they used to. There are not that many labels left, frankly, and everybody's on a shoestring budget. So it's not the same business as it was. I did very, very well as a photographer. I worked for Neiman Marcus in Dallas, shooting a lot of their models and stuff. So I had a studio set up not only in Los Angeles and Hollywood, but also in Dallas. And then I would fly to New York. I did some shooting in London and Paris. And I love to work both sides of the camera, and I always have. I love being on both sides of it.
And other than your book, do you have any future film projects or TV projects coming out that we can look forward to?
Yeah, I have. During COVID, I was able to set up and shoot for a director named Joshua Butler, a new streaming kind of horror, sort of alien type of project called Red Rooms. It's not released yet, and I don't know if it's found a home. I'm not on that end of it. I just acted in it pretty much. And then I did a sitcom with Casper Van Dien in December. Mark Klebanoff and Brooke Lewis are involved in that. Brooke is the executive producer of Red Rooms as well. And so those two projects, I really look forward to be released. Those two projects are coming out. And that's about it for now. I think I'm releasing a new EP called Allergic to Texas with 5 new tunes. And all of that keeps me pretty damn busy.
Yeah, it sounds like you're busy.
I'm still auditioning for, projects here when I have a wonderful manager and agents, and when the industry kicks back in full tilt, and it looks like it's getting a little busier right now. It's nowhere near what it was before COVID. I'd like to get, I'm still in the game, still auditioning. Most of the time you don't get them, but sometimes you do. And that's just part of the game of being an actor. That's why I love music so much, is that, I just wrote a song. Nobody can tell me when I can do it or when I can't do it. And if I want to go make a video, I'm in a music video, I just go shoot it, right? And so I'm not waiting around for a casting director or a producer to cast me in a film that way.
Yeah.
As I get older, I'm not so young, and there are not as many parts for older women. There are lots of parts for young, cute ingenues. But as a more mature person, and I'm not complaining, I love the era I was born in, by the way. As I get older, though, there are fewer acting roles than there were when I was a young, cute little thing,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way Hollywood is. But you have a love for Anne Rice. I love Anne Rice. I grew up reading her books. I would love to see you in something with Anne Rice, and I know there's some ongoing projects developing some of her other books. I think you'd be great in some of the roles in some of her books. Well,
I was friends with her brother-in-law. I went to elementary, junior high, and high school with her brother-in-law, Larry Rice. Anne Rice was married to his brother, Stan Rice, who was a wonderful writer and poet himself. At any rate, Anne went to high school at an adjacent neighborhood high school. My God, she is the most amazing. She is such an amazing person and such an amazing writer. I'm particularly tight with her still brother-in-law and Anne's son, Christopher. Christopher's also very, very talented.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his books as well. Yeah, he's a great guy. I follow him on Instagram and on Facebook and his podcast
I would
as well.
love to be in anything either of them wrote, and it would be such an honor, but have not been approached with that yet. But I guess I could try to chase that down. But I mean, they're both very talented.
I think we should start a Facebook campaign to get you in an Anne Rice or Christopher Rice movie or TV show.
Yeah. I don't know if Christopher, I was going to be on Christopher's podcast at one point, and I don't know what happened with that. I don't even know if he's still doing it. He had a podcast for a long time.
Yeah, they still put out an episode every Sunday, I believe, the dinner show.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty entertained by the podcast when I watched it a couple of times. So,
and where can people find your music and any of your other projects you got going on? Where can they find you? Find your music to buy it? You're on all the social media.
Everything's under my name, and so iTunes, Amazon sell my first album. An album I released in 2012 called Swamp Cabaret. It's kind of swamp blues comedy music, most of which I wrote. I have some YouTube videos as well under my name, Suze Lanier Bramlett. Instagram, Suze Lanier. Twitter, Suze Lanier. Facebook, Suze Lanier Bramlett. SUZE LANIER Bramlett. BRAMLETT. But a lot of listeners may remember me as Susan Lanier, but I'm the same person. When I got married to Delaney, added his name on. So I'm particularly, after he passed away in 2008, I was so proud to be able to continue carrying on his name. So anyway, everything's under my name: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and iTunes, Amazon. And I will be putting out a little bit more merchandise fairly soon. And please be on the lookout for my new EP that I'm going to release called Allergic to Texas.
And also, if anybody wants you to do a cameo, you do cameos too.
Oh, absolutely. I've done a couple of those lately. So thank you for reminding me about that. Yes. I love to do the cameos. So if you need a shout out, a birthday wish, I'll even write you a little ditty of a song. I can write a real quick little 30-second song or something. I'll be happy to do that. I enjoy that.
I just think that's an awesome way for fans to connect with the artists that they really enjoy. Yeah, I wanted to make sure to get that plug in there for you because I think it would be.
Thank you, Eric. I don't charge much for that because I figure, if you're going to pay me a couple of bucks to make a connection, that's fine. I know a lot of people charge like hundreds of dollars on their cameo. I don't do that. Mine's cheap. It just kind of, helps me out in my old age, a little bit. But I'm not one of the ones that feel like you need to pay me $200 for me to say hello. I think that's kind of wild.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on with me today. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Me too, Eric. I've had a great time, and thank you for having me on. And maybe we can do it again when my book comes out.
That would be great. That would be great. I'd love to have you back on and talk about your book. And like she said, you can find her on all the social medias, on Cameo. You can also see her in both of the original Hills Have Eyes movies. She has the movie The Cut, and look out for her future projects. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Y'all have a good day. Join us next time for a new episode of The Unseen Paranormal. Until then, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at our website, unseenparanormalpodcast.com. And don't forget to like, review, rate, and share with all your friends. Thank you to my friend Chris Lips for the awesome theme music. Listen to our theme song and more of his music at chrislipsmusic.com. And remember, some of the scariest things are unseen.